Okay, this Hangout on Air is now live. So, hello and welcome to Australian Transformers Weekly. We are your first choice for Transformers news in Australia. This is episode 113. We are recording live on June 30th, 2017. Momentous for being the end of the month that the last night was released in, and also for us Australians, the end of the financial year, which means generally a giant panic to get things done at work. And some of us have only just gotten home since we do record at night. I'm Jason. Joining me this week, we have Mikey and Max. Say hello, Mikey and Max.
Hello, Mikey and Max.
How dare you?
That's good. Good. We have an extra. So we're Bradless this week. You might notice. Brad is in Melbourne preparing for Oz Comic Con. TCCA has a table at. Actually, I think we have more than a table. I've seen pictures of Simon Chambers with his glass display cabinet being set up and everything. It looks like it's going to be a good weekend at Oz Comic Con. So, Brad has taken a leave pass. He's in a hotel room somewhere in Melbourne with his family. And so he's left the inmates to run the asylum, which means we've decided to bring in a special guest this week. Will Cook, say hello.
Hello. I am replacing Brad for ever. No, that's all right. Basically, thanks for having me, guys. I've been around since on the group for about a year. And it's been awesome. I liked it. And, I guess thanks for having me. And all good.
Yeah, excellent. So, Will, before we get into it, tell us a little bit about what you do.
What I do? Well, I'm hoping. Yeah, it's so good. Sorry. I am basically. No, it's all right. No, basically, I'm an artist. Basically, I like to do I'm inspired artist. Hopefully in the future I would like to do animation and stuff, and I do cosplay as well. Mostly just Spider-Man, but I will branch out to other stuff and do other stuff like whatever comes around. I think I did like a Power Ranger once, and it's mostly Spider-Man's, and mostly that's it. Gave tips to Mike about doing a Black Mask cosplay. And
Next mention.
Exactly. So yeah, basically, and been a fan for about 10 years. So yeah.
He won a contest.
Now this sounds oddly like you're a fan since the first movie came out.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So more the one. I see.
Yes, I'm the generation that was inspired by. Yeah, I was adopted by the Michael Bay movie. I was. Should I talk about it or how I got into it?
You may talk about it. This is all being recorded and going out to the podcast, so don't need to ask questions. You can just do it.
All good. I saw the first film when I was about 7 years old, and what happened? And when we first saw the first Transformers film, I guess I came a bit late. I went in when Bumblebee was chasing Sam, but I stuck through that. And when I really got into the what really happened was it was my first M film, so basically in America, M PG-13. It was just really like my first experience with like a whole big movie event and how the special effects were. And then I first saw my first transformation of Barricade. And I was freaked out and I was like jump scared and all that, but I was really intrigued. And then I was just like, wow, this is amazing. This is special effects and all that. And the lore is really cool. And what really sold me on the film, like the franchise in general, like comics and stuff and shows and games, were that Autobots land on Earth. And when we see the Autobots still transform, especially Optimus Prime, I was in awe. And I was just amazed how it looked, and I wanted to know more about everything lore. And I think the movies get a lot of flack, and I understand it. But for a new generation, it brought back the franchise more to life. And without the film, I wouldn't be in the franchise. And that's really it. I was inspired.
Cool. So what kind of bots do you collect?
I'm mostly a Chug guy, so I love Generations and stuff and all that. I have a few movie stuff. I do collect masterpieces, but only a select few, only like a select and not like an entire collection. I do have quite a few masterpieces, but just mostly the main lines and stuff, and I have my Transformers Prime collection, so that's just a side collection and stuff. And I used to collect animated, don't have any animated stuff anymore. Unicron trilogy stuff, I don't have that anymore. I need like a few, but just the main stuff basically. So yeah.
So with the Unicron trilogy stuff, are you kicking yourself for getting rid of it, since there's a few things in the last night that might be bringing some of that stuff back?
Yeah, you talk about the Cybertron, right? Primus.
Sure.
Yeah. I wasn't really. I'm not really.
Mike is
big.
laughing because I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but sure.
Yeah. Should we spoil it? I don't mind. Yeah,
Everyone dies.
Yeah. Oh, I wished. I wish.
And then everyone develops a French accent, and it's just
Yeah.
gonna be French
Bonjour,
from now on.
little lady. No.
That is appropriate this month because Tour de France is on, and it could well have been a time.
They all turn into bikes.
Yeah.
Little lady. No.
Anyway, continue.
Okay, all right. Shall we move on? Talk a little bit about some news. We've got a little bit of news this week, and so I think there's some interesting stuff out there. We would talk. In fact, look, we'll talk a little bit about Take Your Bot to Work Day, but I don't have Max's photo up. I'm so sorry, Max. You are the winner this week. It is a competition that we put on in the TCCA discussion group every Wednesday. Take your bot out, put them in the real world, and see which photo is the most popular. Yeah, Max, congratulations on winning this week, but I don't have your photo to show unless you've
Max.
I've put it on my screen share.
You put it. All right, let's put it up there, and hang on a second.
I voted for it.
Thank you, Mikey. I owe you a vote.
Well, I mean, I've already won. I've already won one, so it doesn't really matter.
I'll vote for the other.
Mike is
That
winning
was sort of
everything.
unexpected and cool.
I win them all.
He's just that good. But yeah, so yeah.
Very clever.
Thanks. Yeah, I just work at Coles, and part of my job is cleaning the bakery, which means that I'm basically in there after hours, and no one's gonna give you a odd look for posing a transformer on the equipment. So there's little legend Shockwave making some donuts.
Beautiful.
Bake wave.
Excellent. Let me figure out the control to turn that
Then
off.
it falls
There we
in.
go.
And then
donuts.
that happens.
Bang. All right.
Then the little
Okay.
shockwave.
Yeah. It's a little shockwave. It's okay.
Yeah, he'll fall into the dough, and then you have little plastic pieces. It's like, what is this? It's like a shockwave hand, and a little kid would be choking.
If someone's eating a donut, there's just a shockwave hand. Oh, okay.
It's a shock donut.
That's a thing.
Infuriating.
Okay. Let's get to some news, shall we? It's Masterpiece news time. There seems to be a spate of new masterpieces being revealed in the last few weeks. We've had Sunstreaker. We have the new version of Sideswipe with anime correct colors that everyone groaned when it was revealed, the second plus masterpiece. And this week we had the reveal of an interesting new pack of masterpiece figures, MP15 and 16E, which looks like it's going to be a combination pack with 4 cassettes in it. Yeah, interesting. So the new cassettes are Stripes, Night Stalker, Enemy, and Wing Thing. Not characters I would have expected to be getting masterpiece treatment quite about now. You can see the first main photo up here, which shows that actually I got to say it shows a rather attractive looking Rumble/Frenzy based figure where they've actually given him splashes of blue and splashes of red. I quite like it. There he is.
I just want to say, Jason, when you said like, "Are you shocked by how it was coming out now and not when like it was new with the other cassette players?" You know, Masterpiece has that kind of tendency. It's like for example with Sunstreaker, when it's like, "Why are you coming out now when Sideswipe came out like 3 or almost 4 years ago?"
Ages
So it's always like. Yeah, ages or something ago, right? So it's like, it's always inconsistent. Like sometimes, like, oh, we're gonna make a track for no reason, or we're gonna make this, but we're not gonna put this specific, like this character or whatever. It's all weird, like how they present their masterpieces and stuff.
It is pretty weird. There's been a discussion the last few weeks about how we're rumored to be getting a Blaster masterpiece, and the appearance of some cassettes with Autobot logos on them without an Autobot masterpiece figure to pair them up with would tend to lend a little bit of credence to that, but it still hasn't been revealed. And the interesting thing about this...
It also... Night Stalker is just straight up I can feel it's name, Steeljaw redeco. So...
And so in this case, you would actually call him a pre-mold.
Yes.
So it is interesting that there are Autobot cassettes that are not what are Blaster's main cassettes? Steeljaw, Ramhorn, Eject and Rewind.
Yep.
So these guys are nowhere to be seen. So that's what I mean when I say they're odd choices for cassettes. The Decepticons are not sort of quite as well known either. So. Look, these are Takara Tomy Mall exclusives. They do like to play around a little bit with some perhaps more obscure figures for their exclusives, but they're quite nice looking anyway. It is nice to see some new cassette molds. And
I'm not really. Yeah. Sometimes they just like with toys and stuff. For example, like you know how they do like G1 style Red Alert or like G1 style colors of Sideswipe and stuff.
Cartoon style. They're the plus series.
Yeah, basically. They have to this is still Takara, and like they got to try to we still have this mold and we want to make money. So it's always like we just need to make money quicker now. We need to make something new, and people and fans will probably buy it. So it's always like
squeeze every penny out of this.
Yeah, squeeze it out.
A little blood, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, these look cool. I mean, Wing Thing I think is really cool. Another way to get yourself a Rat Bat, which is nice. Enemy is actually I'm not sure if the character is a fuse of Rumble and Frenzy, but I know it is definitely supposed to be. He is basically Rumble and Frenzy as one, I believe.
Is he supposed to be from like Headmasters or something?
Yeah, I think. I don't know how it happened. I haven't seen Headmasters, but yeah, I think they're really cool repaints. But
he's based off of an old Micro Change toy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then here they put him out with Encore Sound Blaster.
And then I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think they tried to give him that it's part Rumble, part Frenzy type thing. I'm not sure, but I think I heard it somewhere. Yeah, cool. Very cool.
So
and it's much more of a... There you go.
Oh, sorry, dude. You go. Sorry, my bad. Yeah.
I was just saying how it's more clay than... It is much more of a clay than a red, and a more deeper blue than Rumble is. But yeah, no. Cool.
Yeah, so like the discussion about it's like Rumble or Frenzy, you want to combine it to both. There you go.
Make everyone
but the question is he Rumble and Frenzy or Frenzy and Rumble? Roll that one around.
Jason, why? Come on.
Rumble, Frenzy and Rumble. Frenzy and Rumble. Because Frenzy's red and Rumble's blue.
Don't start.
Yeah, no.
Maybe he's frenemy.
I'm sorry, what did you say? So, what did you say? Do you want to rescind that statement quickly?
No.
No, I can't. It's too easy.
All right. Now the question is, who's ordered these? They've gone up for order on Takara Tomy Mall. Delivery is sometime in December. So yeah, good 6 months out. But what do you think? Anyone going to be adding these to their collection?
They're certainly nice looking, just sort of bit too obscure.
Yeah. I've already got a ton of Masterpiece cassettes through KFC, so I think unless they're more reasonably priced, because whenever I got my first run of cassettes, they're about $90 each just for 2 of them. So yeah, I'll leave them for Jason because I think Jason's getting.
Yeah, fair enough. I do have them on order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gorgeous.
I'm not really a fan of how they did the molds. I'm not really, because it's a bit I know there are a bit problems with how they I think like the joints always like kind of broke. I heard from people, and
Yeah,
it wasn't like
that.
yeah. I'm not really. It's a bit lengthy, I think, but you know, it's because of again the gimmick with the chest of Soundwave, or maybe Future Blaster. I don't know.
I don't like this, to be honest.
Yeah,
Not a fan.
I do like the silver and the black though. It's a good color scheme.
I'm actually the thing that stands out to me the most around looking at the picture of Nightstalker. I really hope it's just like a prototype issue or something. But the if you can see where my mouse is moving, just there's no solid flat edge to the paint on the cassette design. So I'm really hoping that that's just a prototype thing.
I think it's just
especially considering how much I'm paying for this.
It's so small, and it's like. I had to get kind of like, you know, it's a factory as well who's probably like pumping these out, and it sucks. So it's like, oh, it's a bit sloppy, but it's like you have to like, it's kind of small detail. It's like, how does it go? So it's like, you know, sort of that weird stuff.
Yeah, I would expect better for the money. So we'll see.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Definitely.
I'm not sure if I did point it out, but again, like we've got the most tiny bit of remolding on the Ravage repaint, and he has wings now. So, I mean, that's cool.
Oh, sweet.
I double checked.
I mean, is his eyes painted? Because I can't really tell.
It just looks like black.
It looks like there's just like some. No, it sucks.
But I double checked because I was just like, I'm sure he didn't have these wings before. I went and looked at mine. I'm just like, yeah, okay. So yeah, I mean, good for them. But like, I kind of want my Ravage to have those. But whatever.
What's his name again? The Orange Ravage. What's his name?
Stripes.
Stripes.
To all the hardcore Sky fans, here it is, the greatest.
Must be Stripes.
Congrats.
Okay,
we finally got it, guys.
Let's move on. So, what we are looking at, here is Titans. So, Titans Return. We are now looking at proper releases for the Autobot and Decepticon clones, and so of course the one of each set. What are they called? Fastlane and
Cloudbreaker.
Fastlane and Cloudbreaker, Pounce and Wingspan. And so you'll find one of each in the Toys R Us sets. And we are joined on the podcast by my cat. Say hello,
Hi, Andy.
Hi, Andy.
He's just like, why have you picked me up, human?
I want down. No up. Down, please.
So you get one of these guys in the Chaos on Velocitron and Siege on Cybertron sets, and the other, it looks like you're going to have to, if you can see this tiny photo, there is an official Titans Return box that contains the other side of the pair.
Yeah.
So if you get that box and the two $150 sets from Toys R Us and Big Bad Toy Store, you can put these guys together for to complete their sets. So
I don't think it's worth it. I don't think, unless you're a big chug guy, then
Aren't you a big chug guy?
I am a chug guy, but I select my stuff. So it's like sometimes I like this guy and this guy.
On the one hand, I'm a little bit pissed off, but on the other hand, I'm relieved that at least two of them aren't coming with another $250 sets, so you don't have to spend like over 500 or over 500 to get them. But on the other hand, I'm just like, consistency, like why? Do you have this one in there and then one in there, so you just have to hunt down essentially $300 worth of stuff, and like the sets you might.
Look, to be fair, you do get more than just these four figures for your $300. Like it's it's not a bad deal, right?
No, I guess but
they're pretty small. Like I don't want to say it.
Yeah, but they fit for the clones, and I love the look of the two Fly guys because.
So basically, like army building. So basically.
No, if you've got a spare, couple hundred, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you'll get an army of one, but not the other.
They just got all these other dudes over here, like 50 Optimus Primes. But they look like clones, and I'm actually really happy with how they look so alike, but yet they turn into different forms.
Yeah, so I was just looking at the differences on them. You can see there's some slight differences on the outside of the legs where wheels and jet parts go, and on whatever's attached to their back. But the robot modes at first glance look identical.
Exactly. And that's the gimmick, you know. So I think it looks really good, and I think they're a really faithful update of those. Like really,
I think they
it's
are.
surprising just how G1 they are. Like,
exactly.
They're very like. I'm not going to pick them up, but I do admit they're very nice looking. And if I had the chance, if they release them like free in box sets, no, sorry, I said box sets. I get tongue-tied. Then it would. I will pick these up, but at the price and like what you get with it, I'll pass. You know.
So the photograph that shows the box, right? It's next to Titan's Return Overlord. Now he's going to be a leader class, which I think means that if you're looking for this 2-pack, it's going to be a Voyager size.
Yeah.
Oh, if they put these out as like just the one Voyager set that had a Voyager price,
it's a Voyager set that contains the yet to be released pair of clones.
Yep.
So you get this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like if they end up putting it out at just alongside other Voyagers, that'd be a kind of a cool.
So judging by this photo, that would be how they're going to put these guys out, because you can see a box next to Titan's Return Overlord, but you still have to buy the other box sets to get the others.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Let's move on. I can sense the disappointment. So let's talk about Fans Toys. Because Fans Toys is usually, but listen to that groan, usually a fairly reliable source of things to cheer people up. Now we are looking at coloured test shots of Fans Toys F-22 Coot, who is their masterpiece style cup. I can hear moaning and groaning going on in the background. Who doesn't like it?
I love it though. I just love the name. It's great.
Just the colors, dude. The colors are just really well. The colors just look. I don't know. It's just like it's not the. It's really Takara, like new Takara, masterpiece style. But it's like it's just the colors just put me off. Like I get it.
What would you want
it's supposed to look really.
then?
Just a bit more dark and a little bit more like you see that Perceptor right there. How he with the colors and stuff, and how a bit more vibrant in the shows. But this is just like screams just like out of a candy pack or something, and I'm not over it. I'm not really into it. Yeah. Oh, okay. I see the windshield.
Yeah, so there's something interesting going on with the chest panel window thing, but no one's really sure what's going on with that. I don't know if that's a reference to a cartoon, or maybe it's a reference to something that we haven't seen in the Western versions.
I might be maybe pulling it, but like maybe it might be a reference to like Spotlight Cup in IDW when he went on Craven. Maybe his chest open. I don't know. I can't really remember or something.
It seems doesn't ring a bell at all.
Kind of looks like the Autobot symbol, the top of it, but
yeah. Now, the most controversial part about this is surprisingly not his name, but
I love it. It's great.
It's the chest, the vertical division in the chest, which is quite a departure from the character design that we're all used to. But there is something to do with his transformation that actually plays into, and I think after a while you don't really notice it when you look at these photos.
But I will give it this.
Just another seam in the Transformers toy.
Exactly.
I will give it this. It does have like in robot mode with the back. It does have like a really G1 toy look to it. Actually, if you don't, it kind of does with the back a little bit. It has that like shoulders. It does remind me of it. Yeah,
and it does
I'll give it that.
Perfectly turn into a hospital bedroom slipper. So that's good.
Nice.
That's the best description of his vehicle mode is a bedroom slipper.
He's a Cybertronian pickup truck, isn't he?
AKA bedroom slipper. Just look at it. You put your foot in there. It's a bedroom slipper. You know?
Yeah. By two, just rolling around.
Yeah. They see you roll.
Put them on Metroplex or Fort Max.
Always big easy rollout, man. Car mode.
It looks good. You know, it's exactly what it needs to be.
Yeah.
So
it's going to come out, and like Phoenix and Grinder recently, it's going to come out and people are just going to be like, oh my God, and they'll just lose their shit over it. So
yeah, I'm probably
everyone's giving it shit at the moment, and just you wait and see. Like it'll probably come out that they accidentally turned on HDR when they took these photos, and they came out oversaturated, and the real thing has a slightly duller color palette, and everyone will breathe a sigh of relief and then go back to lusting after it.
I'm giving it no shit, and I'm giving it a possible buy from a convention. That's what I'm giving it.
So if you go there and see it in person, you might.
Yeah,
buy
definitely. Yeah.
The only thing that's really throwing me off is it doesn't look like he has a waist swell.
Actually, can we look? Yeah. No, I see it. I actually do see it. Like, look at it. Look, you see it?
He doesn't look like what?
He doesn't look like a waist swivel because he has that sort of belt piece around the front.
No, I'm pretty sure.
None of his shots.
I see a
like the seam there.
Guys. One, please.
Sorry.
Okay. So you can see a seam line around his waist, but he has that belt piece coming up over the top, and none of the poses that they've got him in actually show the waist turning. So, there's a slight worry, but I don't reckon that's going to be an option for him.
Okay, so it was waist swivel that you said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Swivel here.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it can.
No, I can't swivel.
I don't think that.
If it doesn't swivel, in the great words of Joby the Hong, it's a disappointment.
There you go.
I kind of feel like it does. Like you can see a fairly distinct line behind the sort of the belt buckle part of his waist.
Time will tell. That's essentially.
Yeah, I suppose so, because there's a definite seam there, but I try to see how it would be able to move.
I get where you're coming from.
Let's bear in mind it's a test shot.
Yep.
Yes, so.
Now, the other thing is you say time will tell, and time will tell, but we don't really know when this is going to come out, and so it might be 2025.
Yeah, fair enough. Also, he comes with a saga for all those comic fans. So.
Yep, Brad. Wreckers Love.
Yep, there it is, and he comes with a Target Master as well.
He does,
Beautiful.
Yeah. That's nice. That's
Beautiful.
Very nice. So I'm going to say that Fans Toys FT22, and by the way, the numbers on Fans Toys are kind of funny now. Like, no one really knows what order anything's going to come out in. FT22 Coot is going to get a solid maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
From the podcast.
No.
There's actually a bit of discussion about the height of the character in robot mode. Mainly generated by this shot that came out during the week.
I think
so Maz from TF Square 1 pointed out that he was quite disappointed that Coot isn't closer to the height of MP9.
Well, I think because again, I think MP. I think it really scales well with MP Hot Rodimus. Because like if you see in the movie, he really they're around the same size.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
he looks like he's the size of like MP Hot Rodimus, right? So he's about that size because they always interacted in the movie a lot. So I'm like, if I did pick it up, he will look great with my Hot Rodimus. So yeah, exactly.
So yeah, because I mean, Rodimus Prime's supposed to be bigger, got the Matrix, so he's a bit bigger. So I think he's a perfect size. Also, he's supposed to be an elderly character, so
he's shrunk like an old man.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's funny you say that, but I noticed that it happens. Like for some reason, someone's just like this height, and then whenever they get to old age, they're shrunk a bit. So Transformers may work the same.
Jeff showed that in the second movie. And there was like two old Transformers in the last night, and I'm like, how are you old? Like, I don't know, whatever.
Rusty?
I guess.
Yeah, no, they're meant to be millions of years old. These guys have been on Earth for 1,000 years, and they're just like, oh my god, I'm old.
My legs are falling off.
So here's a question for you. Here's a question for you guys about Coot's design. There's some gold on his forearms. Is that actually part of the original G1 toy? Or is that just a design that Fans Toys have added?
Oh, let me look it up.
I think there was.
It's on there. They're more of a sort of yellow stickers, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stickers. I think it looks great. Yeah, I did notice that.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it in his cartoon form.
No, it was the gold. It was yellow in the arms. It was in the G1 toy, but with this, I think it's gold. I think it is. Yeah.
Well, they're trans.
Yeah, he has him in the cartoon.
Oh, okay,
Alright.
cool.
It's funny. It's funny how you lock onto certain aspects of a character's design and remember that. Like for me, the most memorable part of Cup from the cartoon is the head, the face, the old face design, and sort of the chest design as well. So yeah, like the rest of him, I kind of don't really have a very clear photo of.
Mine's the fact that it's kind of like
Always
he's
found
like a mug, and then he's like the darker blue is like the mug, and then the lighter blue is kind of like the liquid that's inside. So I guess.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was going to say something like that. Yeah, I always thought like.
Oh, there you go. See there, right there. The gold on his arms and the gold right in his belt buckle. Even in the movie.
Hold on a sec. I'm just going to bring Max's screen up.
There we go.
Did Max just discover, like me today, that we could screen share?
It's also not working. There you go. Yeah, cool.
There you go. There it is.
Beautiful. That's what. Yeah.
So let's compare. So
yeah.
What have we got here? We got his. So Coot's arms sort of a more sort of
G1 toy,
more clicked onto his. Yeah, I think they're more toy than movie figure, but his forearms definitely there. Now I got to say that I've got to. Oh, thanks, Max.
Sorry, I forgot that happened.
let's go back to the official picks here for Fans Toys. Now there is one thing that I want to take issue with, and people will probably shout me down for daring to say anything bad about Fans Toys, but those hands look really square. I don't really like the hands.
I see where you're coming from. The proportions do look off in general for him.
Yeah.
There's nothing specific that. There's just a lot of things like the shoulders are wide and down.
Hold on.
If the fingers separated, like have you know how like some Masterpiece toys and third-party toys with Masterpieces always have like a joint, like with something like this with a finger, or like it's boxy, but you always have like a little dynamic with the finger, right? If it had that, it just looks like a block, basically.
I'll tell you what, the Fans Toys Dinobots are 100% cube for their hands. They are way more cube than this, so this looks better than the Fans Toys the Dinobots. So.
I just sort of wonder if Fans Toys has just gone like, all right, well here's what our hands look like. Look, Coot needs hands. Just copy this, paste it on there, and just shrink them down to fit. You know.
You know what? Whenever I saw the prototype of this looked like garbage. To be honest, to me, I just saw this. I'm just like, this could never work. And now that I'm actually seeing it colored, I think it really, really works. So. Even with the seam line, because Transformers got to transform. So we'll see when it comes out in about 50 years.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. There is, before we sort of get into a little bit of last night news, there is just a contest from Imaginarium who do a lot of Transformers statues. They are actually running a competition to win a. I've got someone coming home. I think. Yeah. Hang on a sec, guys. I'll be back in a minute.
So Imaginarium are they're doing okay, let's read this. Want to add Frenzy? They're wrong because that's Rumble to your collection. Just check out the Imaginarium art page tomorrow, June 29th. At 7:00 p.m. Singapore time to find out how you can win an exclusive collectible. So this thing, even though it's so small, it's a statue. It's expensive
Frenzy.
little. It's Frenzy. Wait, what? No, that's Rumble.
Yeah, you said it. You said it.
I don't.
Hey, we got you.
I don't know if it's Frenzy because, like, the majority of Transformers media would disagree with you there.
It does.
No.
He's always been.
Rumble is red.
Rumble isn't even blue in the cartoon. He's purple.
Yeah, okay. Rumble is purple. Frenzy is red.
Oh, God damn it.
There we go.
Okay. We're gonna look at the comments. I love the comments.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So for me, before I get confused, like have a bloody brain fart again, I think that Rumble is red and Frenzy is blue, or purple, whatever you want to call him, because the toy was that, and then they stuffed up the cartoon.
You're pushing
Anyway,
it.
there's gonna be you're gonna have an opportunity to win this little statue, so it's a bit odd that it's just one guy. I'd expect maybe Rumble and Frenzy. But
maybe you can buy Rumble to go with your Frenzy if you win.
Oh
it.
yeah, fair enough. But he looks good from that.
Maybe Imaginarium is actually not doing too well with their sales, and they decided to give you Frenzy so that you have to buy Rumble.
Exactly, because of the SCD.
It's just like you're fueling the conversation. It's like, no, it's Rumble or Frenzy. Yeah, I think it's Frenzy. But the thing is, you're fueling the conversation. Why would you just get one cassette player of like when they're basically together? They need to be together because that's how people recognize them. That's how iconic the cassette tapes are. Like these guys are. It's like, why would you?
Everyone knows them together.
Like Frenzy, like just like why? I don't get that.
Yeah, exactly what.
Right, I'm going for the Google. I'm going to see if they make a Rumble. Maybe not. I don't think they do.
I think Jason's right. I think they that is probably one of their cooler things.
So sick.
Okay, so they've got a sound wave.
I got some Iron Man stuff.
They got them,
Okay, this has not gone well. This is not really working for me. I don't care. So back to that story. That's a little bit of a spoiler. So,
don't look.
Back to Imaginarium Frenzy. Sure, it looks all right. So there is a competition. If you go to the Imaginarium Art website, the Facebook page, then you can figure out how to win it. And it's just me trying to see whether there's any other photos, and there's not. So, if you head to Imaginarium.hobby on Facebook, appears to be their Facebook URL, and you can find them at just by searching for Imaginarium.art. You can see it on screen there now.
Great head sculpt.
By any chance, are they associated with Prime 1 in some way? Because it looks really similar. I know it's statues and stuff, but are they associated with Prime 1 by any chance, or no?
It's possible, but I'm probably not the right person to ask.
Yeah.
So yeah, some of this stuff does look good. Like, okay, so
there he is.
There you go. So they have actually since announced how the competition works. So you have to send in so basically you have to share their stuff, try to get a bunch of likes for it, and then send a screenshot.
Right.
And
okay.
Mm.
So he's actually an 8 centimeter statue.
That's all right. He's a little guy.
He's tiny. He's tiny.
But I think Jason's right with his theory. They're giving you a Frenzy, so you go and buy their Rumble.
We'll see.
I might.
We'll see. All right, let's move on.
Eeyore.
Yeah. Oh, I watched that. I was watching like a clip of I was watching a clip of Peter Cullen at BotCon, I think 2010 or 9, and it's like he was saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna play Eeyore anymore," and he was doing this interaction thing. And then Peter Cullen said, in Optimus Prime voice, he's like, "Oh, I'm not playing Eeyore anymore." It's like, well, who ass do I have to kick to get you back? And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's great." More funny and content seeing it, basically.
That was because we scrolled down far enough to see a clip on Imaginarium Art's page showing that both Optimus Prime and Eeyore are played by Peter Cullen. So
of course.
Okay, so let's move on to the last night news. It's been a bit of an interesting week. News has been up and down about whether the last night has been a huge success or a huge failure. There was an interesting piece that was published in the Daily Mail earlier in the week showing the movie's considered a bit of a flop. It's only opened with 69.1 million for domestic US take. That article was then later rewritten, and while the fact didn't change, the article's spin changed to Transformers: The Last Night slays everyone at the box office with a weekend take of 69.1 million. Turns out that they didn't actually have such a bad weekend. It just wasn't such a big weekend for everyone. Yeah, and so Paramount says that it cost $217 million to make, and they've spent a lot of money marketing it. We know that it's opened big in China and made something like 120 million for its opening weekend. Sorry?
It has its budget back? It got its entire budget back.
Yes, it's reached about 300 million at the moment.
Yep.
So it's made its budget back, made a little bit more. Excuse me. Whether or not it's actually going to make it to the billion marks that we've seen from previous films, might have to wait for its home video and streaming releases. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But it just goes to show that the numbers don't necessarily lie, but it's all about the spin that you put on them. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think. Yeah. No, you go, Mike. So good.
Oh, sorry. I don't know if it was a Digibash or something, but I saw. I mean, it's probably too early for it to be this, but it's a DVD box showing the box art of the DVD and Blu-ray case, and saying that there's going to be an extra 40 minutes of Transformers movie in there for you to watch. So, do you
I kind
think
of like to watch an extended cut.
I do.
Yeah,
I will too.
You know what? I'd do it.
Yeah,
You know
I would
what?
too. But I think it's gonna. I can bet you it's gonna do the exact same thing that the Batman vs Superman extended cut
Showed
did,
useless crap.
and it explained absolutely nothing of the
Nothing.
unexplained shit. So I mean,
Here's the thing about footage that's cut from movies, right?
Yeah.
It's usually cut for a reason.
Mm.
Yeah, it's long, tight. You know, I also want to add the fact there is footage I did see. I was watching the behind the scenes a year ago, and it showed Hound, Crosshairs, Drift, Bumblebee, and Hot Rod running away from this giant, like, destruction falling pillar or something, and it was cut out of the movie. Yeah, it was behind the scenes. They were filming in like UK or something, and
Okay.
they were filming, and there was like a pillar that dropped or stuff, and I was like, why is that not in the movie? That looks expensive to make. And I was watching some of those like those commercials with like Bumblebee versus Barricade, and I'm like thinking to myself at the same time, it's like they showed a clip with Bumblebee doing thrusting, like bumping his chest, right? And that was in the movie with the Coke commercial. So I'm saying they probably cut that out with the rematch with Bumblebee and Barricade. They cut that out probably, and that was probably the footage, right? And they also did say they were going to put the origin of Optimus and Megatron for a bit in it. They said they were going to do that in like the producer said something like that, and he promised us that, and it wasn't even in the film. So I don't know.
Yeah, and there's also a thing like, you know how there's 2 alternate versions of the film out and about?
Yes.
No, you should probably explain that.
Oh yeah, because like I remember.
So there's 2 alternate versions.
Yeah.
And basically there's a whole bunch of small line differences and scene differences, but the big one is in one, Nitro Zeus is voiced by Stephen Barr, and in the other he's voiced by John DiMaggio.
Yeah.
And he's got slightly different lines in each version.
So
but one of the other differences, the one that we have in Australia is the John DiMaggio one.
Yeah, we got that.
Okay. So
I
we
love
don't
John
see the
DiMaggio.
other one.
Yeah, and a scene that we missed out in our cut of a film is they actually have when Megatron and Nitro Zeus fly down and still. Oh, what? Okay, spoilers. When Megatron and Nitro.
It's just like, oh, should I or shouldn't I?
Yeah, I could contemplate for a
I
second.
like that he's just decided to go for it, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, spoiler. Right. There's not much to spoil. When Megatron and Nitro Zeus fly down and steal the staff, Megatron actually says that like he's what like Quintessa chose him or something like that. So whereas it's just implied in the regular cut that
That's
you know,
really
he's
weird.
working with that.
That's something I'd like.
They actually say it in an older version.
Speaking of John DiMaggio voicing like Transformers, you know, you ever find it funny that he plays 2 dickhead Transformers with the 2 giant egos, and then he's a robot? Does that remind you of anyone? You know, a silver robot with an antenna? You know, anyone? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's the exact reason why that's it.
Yeah, of course. Like, say hello for your wife for me. I'm like, what? How does a robot do? Okay.
Yeah, well, that was funny. I'll give him that. That was funny.
Yeah. Well, it's John DiMaggio. I love John DiMaggio.
Yeah, he's great. I did like something I noticed with like whenever you see a trailer for a movie, and like you see a scene, and you're just like, oh, that's an awesome scene. You go into the movie remembering that awesome scene. Like for the Rogue One example, there's this scene where there's a TIE fighter that just comes up in front of.
So the thing is that I think this is something that's been happening more in the last maybe 5 years or so, and that's scenes being filmed and scenes going into trailers and then getting cut from the scene, cut from the finished product. It's not necessarily it's not necessarily an intentional dupe, but as films reach the end of their production, they end up changing their cut, changing their edit, and I think these days with digital filmmaking, you end up with a lot more alternate versions of scenes and a lot more footage that you can actually swap around and cut into the movie. So I think it's more likely that now and into the future we're going to see this sort of chop and change, and scenes will go missing. Rogue One is an especially interesting example from a production standpoint because that movie basically changed director in post. And
I did not know that.
They had massive changes in post production, and so Rogue One, is basically a very different movie than its original director wanted to make it.
Yeah, and also, what's a really good example was this, like what we're talking about with movies when it's like sometimes they don't show footage. Recently, an example is the new Power Rangers movie where they the Pink Ranger Kimberly and Red Ranger Jason. They look in the trailer, they were making out, but in the movie, they were just friends, and people were questioning, why is that out, right? Why is that out? And it's like, what's happening with that? And there was a bunch of scenes, and again, especially with Rogue One, I think there was a scene when they were running towards the giant walkers, right? And that was out of the movie, and it was like the one when they were running on the beach. That was gone. With
the bloody first trailer was cut out of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. It messes with my head though. I'm in there watching the movie in the cinema for the first time, and then the thing, like, the scene where I think it's going to happen, it's just like, something was supposed to happen there. And then whenever it finishes, I have time to just think, because just absorbing the movie for the watching.
And also,
it messes with my head. Like, where's the bits of the movie that you showed me?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Also, with Transformers last night, there was a bunch of scenes where it's like, actually the designs of the Transformers, what they promised us, what they were going to give. A good example is Barricade. I like his new design in the movie as well, and the concept, but it's like everyone, they were just like promoting, like, this is Barricade's, this is what he's going to look like. We made a promo little teaser for Barricade. This is what he's going to look like, but he looks completely different from the movie. And so does Drift. Like, anyone notice Drift has a bit of he looks a bit more robotic than less of a human in the last night? Did you guys recognize his face? Like, he had his eyes are a bit more up to the top and not really human, and he doesn't have cheeks anymore. And and the designs are all really weird. Like, they said they're going to do this concept, but they change it. So it's all weird, basically, with how they do it in post production.
Yeah, but as Jason said, they chop and change.
So I didn't really notice that much of a difference in Drift, except for the color scheme. And to be honest,
you can tell from the eyes.
I didn't really see that much of. I didn't really see that many scenes where you actually see Drift's face in.
There was one, and that's
it. They give character development to their own characters in Transformers. They don't.
No, exactly. True.
Well, it's also because Drift just disappears halfway through the movie.
Also, with Drift, they actually, because I always had a problem with Drift in the Age of Extinction. He had I know the G1 always had human-looking robots with their faces and stuff, but it was always a little bit blocky. With Drift, it was always weird because it was all humanoid, and I was like, ew. But with this, they actually, what they did was, I don't know if you noticed,
humans are disgusting.
Yeah, of course, yeah, fuck that. But also, the thing with Drift, what they did was they put his under the helmet, they put his eyes a little bit robotic, and they removed the cheeks and made his mouth a little bit more slimmer and all that. Unlike Age of Extinction, he looked like, no offense, but actual Asian dude. And I was like, that's really weird.
I knew it was.
So that kind of thing does attract a lot of attention, and it attracted a lot of criticism in Age of Extinction. And I mean, the movies have actually long attracted criticism for the racial stereotypes as well. Yeah. Like Skids and Mudflap and Wheelie. The list goes on, right?
Is Wheelie a stereotype? Because I was just thinking it's just annoying little.
Yes. Wheelie is definitely a stereotype.
Is he Jewish or something? Jesus.
Jewish.
He's sort of more sort of a New York bound, but
more of a Yankee.
Always people always got mad about Jazz being like, oh, he just said bitch and he said kicking it, and I'm like, well, I always say it's like people relax. That's all he did, right? Second of all, Jazz. Yeah, exactly. And I say to people, it's like all he did was say is bitch. I'm gonna be chilling here. Right? And that's all he said, right? And all he did, and that's Jazz's character. He likes to chillax and he's cool, right? And all he did in the rest of the movie was just be like, let's save Bumblebee. Let's do this Optimus. What are we going to do? That's all he did. And people were saying, oh yeah, here's a racist stereotype. You know? It's like, relax. Jazz is not that bad of a stereotype. He just...
First movie hardly had any, but then Revenge of the Fallen came and just dumped it in our faces.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought the main issue with Jazz was the racial stereotypes with his voice acting, and given the fact that he is a giant robot and doesn't match those racial stereotypes. Anyway, let's move on rather than digging ourselves into a stereotype off match.
Yeah.
Little note.
This character's worse.
Little note, Steve Jablonski's score for the last night is now available globally. Going on past performance, we had a bit of a discussion in the TCCA Facebook group about this last night. The scores for Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction are actually no longer available on iTunes, and I'm pretty sure that they're hard to find on Google Play. I've got Dark of the Moon showing up in my Google Play account, but I'm not sure if that's because I added it manually or if it's actually still in the All Access streaming library. Now, there's a curious reason for this, and it is that it's a licensing thing, basically. And if it goes to 15,000 sales, then it gets taken down, because otherwise they need to pay extra royalties to pretty much everyone involved with the production of the score. And so you'll find that Transformers 1 and 2, their scores are basically the fees have been paid. So they're allowed to go beyond 15,000 unit sales, but 3 and 4 and probably 5, you can't do it.
Okay.
Yeah. They just get uploaded to YouTube anyway. I know Thievery is not the best thing, but sometimes with stuff like Age of Extinction and Dark of the Moon soundtrack, when they're getting taken off, some people just put it up or whatever. Some random uploader uploaded the original Autobots Return theme, and it got over 30 million views, I think. It's not even
so the thing is that I don't want to go to YouTube to listen to a soundtrack. I'd rather use it in my actual music player.
Yeah, support.
So, I found Dark of the Moon quite easily.
When you say found, what have you been doing?
And Age of Extinction.
Are you finding them for purchase online, digitally, or are you just searching for downloads?
I just went into the iTunes store.
Yep.
Okay.
So Dark of the Moon's there, but Age of Extinction you'll find is a 4-track EP.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's not the soundtrack.
Maybe also the thing is that I bought them, so they might be there.
That could also be why. Yes.
It's probably it. Yeah. So I don't know. I can't tell you because I've bought them, but yeah, that's okay. Cool. I didn't. Yeah. So that means it was fairly popular then. You've had 15,000.
Yeah, it is very popular. The note. So there was a note from Steve Jablonski when Age of Extinction soundtrack was taken down, explaining why. And in the note, he says that a lot of soundtrack scores generally sell between sort of 8,000 to 10,000 copies, and so the limit for this extra level of compensation was set at 15,000 because they figured that not that many musical works are actually going to make it to that level. Turns out with digital distribution, things are more likely to make it to that level, and they did, and so they've taken it down. It's a bit unfortunate, but yeah. Back to the actual story. It is a 34-track soundtrack. It's 2 hours and 9 minutes long, and you can definitely find it on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play Music.
Yeah.
And apparently Tidal as well. No one
I'm
uses
going to download that one. How much is he? He is $16. Did you just
Probably about that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I use Google Play Music All Access, so I don't know how much anything costs.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what he's on iTunes then.
Hmm.
But I'm definitely downloading that because it's.
Did you guys like the score for last night?
Yeah.
I thought it was the best one yet.
I thought it was okay, genuinely.
It didn't have like, in terms of an actual song, it didn't really have one of those, but in terms of music and like dramatic moments, it was freaking, I thought it was the best out of a lot.
I think
For
Age of
iTunes,
Extinction
it's
is really
$16.99
good.
for anyone who's interested.
I think Age of
For
Extinction
anyone
had a
who's-
really good soundtrack.
Age of Extinction? Yeah. I mean, there's only 4 things, wasn't it?
No, it was like there was
No.
like Lockdown's theme. There was the Autobots Reunite which was really amazing.
Oh yeah, that one was awesome.
Autobot Reunite has to be the best other than Arrival to Earth. I think Arrival to Earth and Autobots Reunite are probably the 2 best
Yeah, exactly.
Transformers scores.
Yeah.
But yeah, $16.99 on the Apple iTunes store if anyone's interested.
It's probably about how much it is in all the stores.
Yeah, probably.
Cool.
Buy it up before it goes and disappears.
Before it disappears. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that is about the end of the news. Now, 2 of us have read this week's new Lost Light number 7, so we're going to talk a little bit about it in a spoiler-heavy fashion. So, if you are listening and if you're listening and you don't want to hear it, maybe jump about 5 minutes into the future and pick up the discussion afterwards. So, I don't know what the hell Max is doing.
I'm getting the comic out.
Okay.
That's the wrong comic.
Gonna give it a quick read.
Let's
Haven't done this yet.
Let's pretend what happened. Ultra Magnus exploded and
Oh my god.
and everyone lived happily ever after at the end. No, Jake.
Yeah, but going by the front page of the comic, perhaps.
Oh,
But one of the main features of the comic, this is very much a mop-up issue after the major 6-issue dissolution arc, and so you see a lot of the characters just sort of coming to terms with Megatron's departure, actually. And I think it's actually really interesting watching James Roberts online for the last few weeks since issue 6 came out and we lost Megatron to the Functionist universe. And it's been really interesting seeing a lot of the discussion where people have tried to sort of reconcile Megatron's actions and no, he's a bad guy, yeah, but he's a good guy, and he's a good guy that, you know, forgot to be a good guy and stuff. He's bitten his tongue very well because he would have known full well that he's already written all of those arguments. There's a fantastic discussion between Rodimus and Magnus about Megatron.
I think with Megatron, if I could input with Megatron IDW specifically, I think I do like I love this character, like with IDW and Megatron, how he advanced him. It's like as an Autobot, I got used to the idea and I really love the idea. But with Autobots, like, you know, like in society, thinking like, for example, why is he an Autobot? Why can we not execute him? And that was like stuff with Starscream and stuff. I know what happened with Trials and stuff, but like, why are we letting, like, this doesn't forgive him. He caused like Cybertronian civil war and everything, you know. And there was reasons and stuff, and you know, of course, like the system of Cybertron and stuff. But at the same time, you know, it's like he's done pretty messed up things, especially like all hail Megatron. Remember that? You know,
he's killed billions, basically.
Yeah, killed billions, and it's like
humans and Transformers.
Sometimes, like when I'm reading like Lost Light and stuff, and like I'm thinking to myself, like, Megatron, I can't, like, I love you as a character, but I can't really, like, as a reader myself, I can't forgive you because you killed billions and you darn goofed. You know, you can redeem yourself, but what, like, you know, you darn goofed.
I think the interesting thing there is that so part of the discussion in this issue is that Rodimus and Magnus, or Minimus Ambus, are talking about how they got used to having him around, they got comfortable having him around, and they got punished for it because they faced a mutiny from half the crew of the ship who kicked them off the ship and said, no, what you're doing is not actually right. So I think the voice of the reader is actually very much there, and your distrust of Megatron, because ever since issue 30 or so of More Than Meets the Eye, when Megatron's turned up on the ship, you're just basically waiting for the other shoe to drop. And the big surprise is that the other shoe never in fact dropped. And Megatron himself is now off in a different universe. There's a lot of anger and there's a lot of frustration from the remaining members of the crew as to why that is and why he was allowed to basically escape his punishment and stay in that universe. We the readers know that it was an accident. It wasn't actually Megatron's fault. So when we do meet up with the character again down the road, and it's good to move him off the board for a little while, when we do meet up with him down the road, it's going to be a really interesting reunite.
I did not know that. It was not his fault. That's interesting.
Did you read the issue, Mikey?
I don't. I read up to a point, and I'm just like, can't be bothered.
So it was not Megatron. So look, it was not Megatron's fault.
It's basically Terminus.
Thanks.
Okay.
So it's not Megatron's fault.
With what?
The correct location was transmitted, and Roberts has clarified this. The correct location for the teleporter was transmitted to Terminus, and Terminus didn't give it to Megatron.
Okay. So
Terminus is the reason that Megatron is still in the Functionist universe, and it's not Megatron's fault. And Megatron tried his best to get back to them.
So Terminus is the big evil.
Not necessarily. There's not necessarily a big evil in this.
He's a good guy, and like he's basically done an immoral thing and said, I'm going to keep Megatron from facing justice.
Yeah.
But he's also put him in a position where he's going to do a lot more good.
Okay.
And Terminus hasn't been established as an evil character at all.
Strict.
So far, what we've seen is that he's a lot of Megatron's initial influence for being a good character.
Oh,
so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to really serve as a villain of sorts.
Okay, righto. Fair enough.
So look, I think the discussion over what's ended up happening to Megatron it's worth a longer discussion, and that's why I think actually one of the reasons why I quite welcome this issue. There's a very, very harsh review of it on at least one website that I've seen, and I enjoyed reading.
That review's wrong. Yeah, this is probably my favorite issue so far.
I really enjoyed it. I do think that there's a certain. I take the point. So we're talking about Rack's interview at T-Formers, RAC. So the issue is that Lost Light and More Than Meets the Eye, they do tend to sort of they corral you into a certain way of thinking about something, and then the next issue they just sort of resolve it. And it's very much the same problem that you have with something like 24. When you watch 24, you get to the end of every episode, and seemingly the only interesting stuff that happens in the 24 universe happens in the last 5 minutes of the hour to get you to watch the next episode. So there'll just be people driving around and doing something, and then there'll be a firefight 5 minutes from the end, and you're never sure who's survived. So when you get to the start of the next episode, it's just like, oh, phew, that bullet missed me. That's really good. And
you're right, I get it.
To a certain extent, that kind of is what Lost Light does. There was a specific mention made in Rack's review about the Cyclonus tailgate and the guards, the overzealous security guards on the Lost Light ship. Shooting the crap out of Cyclonus, and you're like, holy crap, he's dead. And the next issue, it's like, no, he's fine. And so you do sort of get these
cop-outs.
No, well, yeah. So they're not cop-outs, they're fake-outs. Where you as the audience and the reader are led to believe something.
Yeah,
and
especially
the opposite is true. But I don't think it's necessarily. I don't really see it as a bad thing. It's just it's kind of part of playing with the audience, and we know that Roberts loves to play with the audience.
Yeah, but I think no, you go, dude. It's all good.
Go ahead. I sort of see it as Roberts being more of a character-focused writer, and he's not really all that crash out at writing action. He's not the sort of writer where you pick up Lost Light and you're like, awesome. There's going to be a big fight in here. I'm going to be engaged. There's going to be explosions and what have you.
Character
No,
driven.
you want to read all the little conversations and what have you. It's more sort of the driving force behind a narrative isn't the events that take place. It's how people respond to those events.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. And I think part of that response is actually the readers as well.
I also want to input, about the cop-out thing. I find this a lot in Robots in Disguise. I mean, not Robots, Monomiti, I Lost Light. I'm always invested, and I always like how it's always taking risks with the characters and how it's innovating this whole Transformers universe. For example, when Rewind died, right? Rewind, I thought it was really touching and it was upsetting. And I was like, whoa, this is depressing. And like, you see Chrome Dome depressed and everything, but then it is, again, the biggest cop-out. So I'm from another universe, and my Chrome Dome died. You want to come with me? Yeah. I was like, that's lazy. I love James Robertson, the characters and stuff, but it's like, if you had the balls, you could have lived.
I think the thing to remember with that though is that there's 2 years between that. Like there's like 20 issues between when the other Chrome Dome and Rewind come back, and so
that's fine. But
there's 2 years of reader time for readers to see depressed Chrome Dome and upset Chrome Dome, and then finally, when that character is at rock bottom, then he's delivered a salvation in that he actually gets to spend that time with the other character, his conjunct Endura. He gets an arc. It's an arc. Yeah. It happens a lot.
I always find
paint ejected into Rewind's color.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I always thought. It's just like, hey guys, let's just slap some paint on this dude and problem solved. Like,
just blur your eyes a little bit.
But the thing about it is the thing it does a character. For example, I'm going to bring up something like Batman. When he lost someone, his parents and stuff. I'm sorry to bring up like a stereotype.
Spoilers.
Thing. Oh, jeez.
How dare you? No one knows that.
Oh, my God, Martha.
He had to... Martha.
Oh, God.
I can speak now. No, but, the thing about it is it helps the character... for example, if Chrome Dome had to, appreciate... again, he was depressed and stuff, but you have to remember... He could probably moved on, learn from what he's done, experience and stuff and whatever. He lost someone, but that's just life, and he has to move on, right? And he told him, I think in the message, it's like when he told him, "I love you, Chrome Dome," right? It says, "I'll be fine, move on, take care of the crew and the blah 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 and all that," right? And it just kind of feels like you can bring anyone back to life, It's like the Optimus Prime thing. It's like, just if you're gonna make someone dead, have the balls to leave them dead, and make them learn. Because the thing about Lost Light is it's a ballsy thing for Transformers, and I think it has the balls to do this stuff. But when it does stuff like this, it's like, well, can anyone come back? When Cyclonus got shot by the guards and stuff, it's like. It just feels kind of like, don't cop out and just do it, because it helps character to grow and experience and stuff. And I think that could really work. Stuff like Batman and Spider-Man and all that have grown from this, and it developed from death and whatever and tragedy and made it something worthwhile or something.
How many of you guys watch Fear the Walking Dead?
No.
I don't watch Walking. I watched the first season of Walking Dead. So I got halfway through the second. Boom.
So I want to talk about something in relation to what you were saying. So in the second episode of the third season of Fear the Walking Dead, the major lead character for the last 2 seasons is killed off before the opening credits. Now, we're in spoiler territory already, so whatever.
Yeah, I don't watch it.
And so the showrunners have said that the rest of the season is going to, it's going to be a major effect on the rest of the characters, and they're going to watch, and see how that plays out on those characters for the rest of the season and see what happens. But it was such a sudden thing, and like the actor has a job on the next Avatar movie, so they had to write him out basically as soon as he got that.
Oh, that's happening.
Yeah,
when is that going to happen? Never.
You might have to ask Fans Toys. But I I think the story. I think the story and the drama and how characters react to and relate to loss is an interesting one, and that's to bring it back to what's going on in this issue of Lost Light. There is a reaction to loss going on. They've lost Megatron. Some characters preferred having Megatron around more than they admit. Ultra Magnus actually says that he really appreciated the fact that whenever he'd write a report, he'd submit it to Megatron, and Megatron would read every single page of his reports and reply, "Noted with thanks." And Rodimus is like, I never read your reports or anything like that. And so,
Rodimus, of course, he's a tool. He's a lovable tool.
Well, so Rodimus actually demonstrates that he's perhaps a little bit more attuned to being a captain of a crew in this issue than you might think otherwise, because Ultra Magnus himself actually, Magnus is dead as far as Minimus Ambus is concerned in this episode, whatever, because he can't put the armor on and he can't make the armor move. And it is determined that the armor has some kind of a neural interface, and because Ambus has developed all of these traits, and he's become a sympathizer for Megatron, and he's constantly running late for appointments. He didn't write a report about certain things. The armor doesn't think that he's actually Ambus anymore. And it's not until Rodimus actually baits him into exclaiming all of these things about how Megatron actually is like really, he's a bad guy. He's done all of these bad things. He doesn't deserve to get away unpunished. And at that point, you suddenly realize that the armor has been moving as he's been expositing. And so Rodimus knew that he had to sort of bait him into, a really strong emotional position so that he would actually revert back to being the Ambus that we all know and mostly love. So I think it's actually quite subtle. It's quite subtle on Rodimus's part.
That the armor kind of has a mind of its own as well?
No, I'm saying the armor has a security.
I feel like he has
Sorry.
I feel like when he gets in the armor, he's by the books. Ultra Magnus. I'm going to call him Ultra Magnus, right? He's by the books, right? So when he's in that armor, he's like, yes, I can do justice and give the law, and I have the power and the strength. And without the armor, he feels a bit like, okay, whatever. But
and beat up the
Joker. Yeah, basically. So all that. Oh no.
So the problem that occurs in this issue is that he can't put the armor on because he's changed, because he has these feelings that make him conflicted. There is, of course, some
D episode.
I don't even know what that means.
Nope.
Will, you were still saying some stuff. Go on.
Was I?
I just want to. I'm going to talk about a bit with Rodimus, if that's all right. Rodimus always found people call him sometimes like you're selfish and you're self-absorbed, but always found that he was always at one point, I found that that's his own uniqueness. It's he's more outgoing, and he's like, yeah, I'm a leader, and he's actually proud of it. But there's a point in the comic, I think it was Dark Cybertron, where Rodimus was when Optimus was walking with him or something, and he's like, Optimus, I don't know what to do. What should I do? And he's like, I don't know. You figure it out. And he's like, wait, you're not going to give me a big giant speech that you always freaking do? It's like, no, figure it out yourself.
I remember that.
Your job, you're a leader. You do it yourself. And I was like, wow, sometimes, I really dig that little interaction. It's like, yeah, Rodimus, stop being such a little, a twat sometimes, and man up sometimes.
Pretty much.
Rely on Ultra Magnus and Drift, to do your speeches and stuff. Just.
Rodimus.
I think that was actually one of the points where Optimus hadn't really decided to come back as Optimus yet, because he was still Orion Pax at that point as well, and so he didn't want the mantle of leadership. And so when Rodimus asked him for some advice about it, his advice was basically, look, I don't have any advice for you because I'm not in that role. But yeah, no, I think there's definitely something there, in that there's a growth in Rodimus's stature in leadership in this issue, and yeah, I really quite appreciate it. So there's a point. I'm just looking through the So after Magnus realizes what has happened and that his armor's working again, he storms out of the room. He's like, "I'm going to write a massive report about the state of the ship," and Drift says to Rodimus, "Like, what just happened?" And he says, "Like," and Rodimus just goes straight up and says, "Ultra Magnus can't deal in shades of grey. He needs absolutes. It's black or white or nothing." Straight up, you can't say that Rodimus doesn't know his 2IC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, look, there's plenty of stuff to discuss. There's also some stuff that's going on with Tailgate as well in this issue, which is either heartbreaking or interesting. But Tailgate and Cyclonus break up, and Tailgate accepts an offer from who's the doctor that's still on Necroworld? Is it Kaput?
What? Kaput?
Is it Kaput, Max?
What a name.
Kaput. Sorry, what?
So the doctor who
Kaput.
remains on Necroworld is Kaput. And
Yes.
in fact, he is Kaput now. So he tried a radiation therapy treatment on Tailgate for 6 months, buried him underground, and 6 months later, it turns out that Fangry has turned on Kaput and killed him, and is taking revenge on Tailgate, and keeps him buried underground for however many millions of years. Which we all know that Tailgate is actually already been underground for that many millions of years underneath an Autobot shuttle launch site from back when the war began. So, could be an interesting way for the character to bow out for a while, going out the way he came in.
I never put my life in the hands of someone called Kaput.
Kaput. We get it? Kaput. I'll put my trust in you. Kaput. Okay, no.
And then you're dead.
Yeah.
Max.
I lie.
Max, you look like you're urgently looking through the issue trying to find this stuff.
No, my window just crashed. So, but yeah, it was sort of. It's like if it was a character death, you could look at it and be, oh, okay, this is unrealistic. This isn't something that's going to hold very long. But going with sort of what's happened to Tailgate, you feel like it's something it's going to have long-term implications. Like, you've taken out basically both Megatron and Tailgate from a book for I can only assume is going to be a considerable amount of time. So it's going to be really interesting to see, and how he reacts upon getting out. There'll probably be some sort of difference in his relationship with Cyclonus at that point when he comes out.
Maybe. I reckon that either Tailgate or Megatron will be back before the season finale. Which going past things will probably be probably around issue 20, 22.
So I want to. Can I talk about the DJG? I feel like it was kind of rushed how they killed them off in the end, just for like. You can, but it's not actually about Lost Light number 7. But let's go there. Yeah. No, I'm not talking about that. Like, I thought they could have been really cool, still being, anonymous, and like they're still around, but like I just felt like they shouldn't be killed off, and I really wish they were still the villains, and I really wish they were still around.
So the thing I think with the DJD is that they were never really intended to be the villains. They brought them in, issue 6 or 7. And then I think the fan reaction to them was so great when they brought them in that they thought, well, okay, we need to bring them back. But I don't think they were really intended to be the villains that they turned out being.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm just saying it because I'm a big Tarn fanboy. So I'm a bit biased. So yeah.
But I mean, so the fact that Tarn's dead doesn't really affect the fact that you've got 50 issues or 40 or so issues of Tarn being awesome. Like just because the character's dead, it doesn't mean that you can't go back and read the issues in which they were alive.
Of course, there'll be other adaptations like the Michael Bay version. No, that'll be awful.
I don't think I'll go there.
No, that'll be awful.
All right, I think we're done with news. I think we're done with comics. One slight note while we are talking about comics, there is a news story about comics. Comics publisher IDW, their parent company IDW Media Holdings is actually 1.8 million loss in the most recent quarter. So it's not even actually year on year, but this time in the same quarter last year, they actually had an $81,000 profit on the books, which is not actually that much when you consider the number of people actually involved in that. That's that's a person's salary or two, but yeah, or I guess quarter over quarter, that is a little bit more than that. So yeah, they're facing revenue declines. It's worth remembering though that IDW does not just publish stuff; they do games, they actually do entertainment, and I actually wonder if some of the losses might be coming from the entertainment division because they haven't actually hit much into the. They haven't hit anything out of the ballpark because they're actually having trouble getting a ball onto the bat.
Really, like games and stuff, because like they're not like I know them from like stuff like comics, and that's mainly it. But like, I really haven't seen them do anything else besides just comics.
There's actually quite a number of divisions. Like they do some collectibles, they do games, they do entertainment, they do all sorts of stuff. And so
yeah.
The part that we're familiar with is IDW Publishing. Now, it actually says games are down 220,000 due to release timing, and it says that wow, Max, can you mute your microphone, please?
Oh, I did not realize it was going to make so much noise. Sorry.
Okay. So it actually says that direct costs in the publishing division were actually higher as a percentage of sales because there was a book series that apparently applied upward pressure on printing costs to meet demand, which there's speculation in this article that it's a series called March, which became really popular. So, yeah. Anyway.
I just want to input by saying what could help the company, and I know a few ways actually. Again, the merchandise and stuff and all that, but I don't think they do as much, right? Here's what they should do: maybe take a playbook out of DC or Marvel. What they should do is like, about the animated DC films and like how they're like comic accurate and stuff and whatever.
Why can't we have those?
Yeah, I could see something for like the Ninja Turtle franchise, the G.I. Joe, and the Transformers getting animated straight to DVD or like digital movies, and it could really help them in the long run because you can get all this attention from the comic books, and then it's like, wow, this is the universe, and the adaptation's really cool, and they need to also put up the I guess the products and stuff, like for example toys. I think maybe Hasbro are not really helping IDW with the Transformers as much because like they're doing different waves and stuff, and maybe it might be not being doing that well or whatever. But I think they need to maybe invest more into just again, games, animated movies, maybe cartoons or stuff, just stuff that will involve their company, like a lot of things like Marvel and DC does.
Not if it's anything like Machine Hammers. And
no.
So this is, I think, part of the problem with things like Transformers and with G.I. Joe, where IDW has the license to produce printed material of these guys, but they don't have a license to produce animated shows, and they don't have a license to produce live action movies and stuff as well. So we know that they lie with Paramount, and Hasbro keeps the TV rights for themselves. What is wrong, Mikey?
I just want like.
It's like throughout the entire sentence, you just lived and died.
Because I just realized that they don't have the rights to any of this stuff. They can do it. They just don't have the rights. So I was just really depressed hearing that.
So this is the thing, right? Like Hasbro Studios are the ones who have the rights to produce things like Transformers Prime and RID. We know that there's another studio who produces Rescue Bots and Rescue Bots Academy, and so like I don't know that there's necessarily a place for IDW's entertainment arm to actually go producing Transformers live action stuff. Bear in mind also, it's really different producing live action stuff, or not even live action, but animation. Like there's a massive turnaround time. Comics,
Yeah, of course.
Comics have a large turnaround time as well. Like you see solicitations for issues 3 to 4 months in advance. It's based on this very old model where they put solicitations out and they try to encourage direct sales through comic book stores. And so there is a lead time on comics production, but like for an animated series, it's usually like 12 to 18 months in advance. You need to get your production line in order. I actually think it's pretty amazing that Netflix has got seasons of Voltron turning around in about 10 months.
Very quick, yeah.
Yeah. But the thing about
it is, I think it's also worth noting that we did have something that sort of akin to what you're talking about. It was called Combiner Wars, and it sucked.
I know.
No, it really wasn't.
That was just something that
the thing of also
Combiner Wars never happened. That's okay.
No,
Go
never.
on.
Yeah,
that's why it's getting deleted.
It didn't happen. What I want to say about it is the thing I also forgot to mention. The reason why I think DC Comics can make, like, for example, an animated movie, like, for example, Flashpoint and stuff, and the new 52 movies or whatever, right? For example, I think they partner with Warner Brothers and like the comics and stuff, so they get, they can do whatever they want. With IDW, I forgot to mention that I don't think they really partner with anyone besides themselves. They only get the licenses, but they're not partnered with like a studio.
Yeah, but they don't own the IP.
But the thing I also want to mention is when you say it's like, oh, it's very expensive. It is like animation is a beast. It's hard. It's very difficult and etc. Even 2D animation is hard to go by today. That's why you see a lot of 3D animation and cartoons. But the thing about this could be the things they condense the stories. For example, the best example is I don't know if you've seen Flashpoint from the DC animated movies, right? They can bench. There's a big long story arc, but they had to cut a few things out, but made it into like a cohesive movie, right? So it worked. They just had to cut a few things out. So, for example, if they made an animated movie like in a DC style of Last Stand of the Wreckers or something, that could, they had to maybe take out a few things or whatever. Maybe some stuff with Overlord or stuff, but I don't know. Maybe some stuff out of like the exposition with like, I don't know, Iron Fist or whatever, they may have to take out a few things or whatever. So it just, I think it can be possible, but up to this point, I don't think, I don't know.
So to the point, right? Like, I don't think that it's impossible for IDW to go out and get these licenses. Like I said, the rights for TV shows and stuff tend to rest with Hasbro Studios, but that didn't stop Hasbro partnering up with Machinima to do Combiner Wars, and we know that they're doing something Titans Return shaped as well. And I know that sound was Mikey throwing up a little bit when I said Machinima, but that doesn't mean IDW can't go out and do it. But I don't feel like the company is really set up in such a way that they can actually produce, and they can't really go out and fund production of a series like that. A lot of people will, due to its heavily serialized nature, say that they want to see a series of More Than Meets the Eye or Lost Light. But I actually think you're more on the money saying that you need to sort of take a one-shot story like Last Stand of the Wreckers and actually go, right, we're actually going to animate that, because More Than Meets the Eye, like if you're going to start animating that, what do? You're going to just start making episodes.
The animated movie route.
Do that. Yeah, it's an animated movie.
The animated movie route, like DC, take it from DC. They're very successful with it. And say what you want about The Killing Joke, but the thing is, it was a big enough audience that it was awful. But the big enough audience,
it was great.
It was a big enough audience to get it was like because it had a big enough audience, and it was like, wow, these animated movies are not just for kids. It's like it's on par with anything, and it's just, it can be possible, they could probably take like story ideas from like stuff like Dark Cybertron, and again, Sins of the Wreckers, Last Stand of the Wreckers, etc., stuff like that. All Hail Megatron will be an excellent animated film. That would be amazing.
The two that they definitely have to make if they're ever going to do it are All Hail Megatron and Last Stand. because
Yes,
those
yeah,
are
no,
just two
they can
really
do that.
just
And also,
great
So,
stories.
if you wanna-
here's my problem with doing All Hail Megatron, right? Is that I feel like the spectacle of All Hail Megatron is Megatron ruling Earth, but the part that really lets it down is the denouement. Like Optimus coming back. It's like as soon as you know, like, oh yeah, Megatron's taken the Matrix from Optimus, and Optimus is half dead on Cybertron. It's like, well, okay, well, I know how this is going to end now. And so, like, All Hail Megatron, the spectacle was in those early issues, and then it was really by the numbers stuff to get to the end, and then they extended it by an extra 4 issues, and it was just kind of bullshit by the end.
I think they could, with some of the DC animated movies, they do sometimes change from the source material. Sometimes they put this character in instead of this character, right? So they could actually maybe adjust the story a bit. But what I could see with something like All Hail Megatron, right? It's simple. It's very simple enough that here's the thing. It's immature. It's animated, so it'll probably be in the G1 style. So you'll get the audience. Thirdly, right? It'll be an eye catcher because it's like Megatron 1, and you can advertise it like that, and people will be like, whoa, And then it's simple enough. Yeah, of course, the Autobots will win in the end because that's what happens. They teamed up with the Wreckers, right? But the thing is, right, what they can do is that could be a great starting point for the animated films, because they don't have to, that could be like, wow, I like that a lot. It was pretty simple, but it was good. And then they can get to stuff like Wreckers and Sins of the Wreckers and maybe even Lost Light with the animated films, right? They could even do that in like the whole DC style because people will be like so invested with if they do it really good, right? With All Hail Megatron, if they could do that, right? People will be invested and they want to get into they want to get into the comics. They will get more into the franchise and everything, and it would be a win-win in some ways. I think it could work.
So I think there's a lot of work ahead of whoever wants to start doing this. Part of it also, I think, might come down to a licensing issue over who actually owns All Hail Megatron. Remember, it was produced under license from Hasbro, so Hasbro probably owns it. So
yeah,
it's not like it's necessarily IDW plowing their own back catalog.
Can I also ask this question? For example, like original characters made for this show, for example, like Lockdown and Animated, right? Was an original character in that show specifically, right? And the Knights of Cybertron were in the IDW comics, right? Do they just like take the characters and don't even tell? For example, when they took Lockdown and put him in the fourth Transformers movie, did they tell J.K. Wyatt, or it's like, no, we just took him. Sorry, and it's like we just took him. It's like we didn't tell you.
Like it doesn't matter. They're in different universes. Most of the time, we had a discussion over maintenance of trademarks and use of characters a few episodes ago on the podcast, and like
they just don't give the credit for it.
Like that. Well, it's not. Why do creators need warning? I mean, like they've created this under license. Hasbro owns it, lock, stock, and barrel. They can do whatever they want with it.
Yeah, I was just wondering, it's like, do they get notice or whatever? Because I'm wondering. Yeah, for example, yeah.
Who knows? But it's not important. Like it's just well, this character exists, and it's not even necessarily that the people who wrote the comic even came up with the character or the TV show. Like someone from Hasbro might have gone, "Hey, we've got this character. We want you to use it." Like we don't really know where the inception of that character came from.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're about done. I think we need to wrap this up because we have actually been going for quite a while. Going to do a quick whip around with new acquisitions. I'm going to turn off the screen share. Who's got new stuff? Mikey, you've got new stuff.
One for me and one for a certain other person. So I recently decided that I'm going to try and get all the Masterpiece lines. So yes. No,
good luck.
No.
I think I convinced Mike to get the Beast Wars figures. I was like talking to him on the phone. It's like, Mike, it looks pretty good. Yeah, and I was like,
as in not like getting all the Diaclone stuff. Like I don't think I'll be able to do that, or like just like the cartoon accurate. Anyway, I got Cheetah, whatever they want to call him. Is he?
Oh, sweet.
And yeah, he's really cool. some people have been saying they've had problems with like paint chipping, and I don't know. I think I happened once, and then never happened again. So, it's got a lot of nice detail. All the like chrome blue is super nice. He's got his gut blaster and his butt blaster, so that's really nice.
Yeah. Right.
So very and you know they go into the cheetah mode, and you kind of have to have them to make the cheetah
Gut
mode. And
formers,
yeah, exactly. So you have
constipation, and
pretty much, yeah, he's pretty much
yeah,
out
he's
of
gonna
this
get
gun.
constipated from shooting his gut.
Both guns are going to be spewing not ammo. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's some cool heads and faces and all that type of stuff. And the cheetah mode's actually really posable and actually holds together.
What about the whiskers?
Yeah.
Like, did they get unjangled?
They're fine.
Because I remember you telling me about them.
Yeah, they got a little bit like misshapen or anything, but yeah, no, I really have. I didn't think I'd actually enjoy this guy that much, and I've actually really definitely ended up enjoying him quite a bit. And yeah, he's basically like they took him straight out of the cartoon, because basically they did. That's what he looks like. And for Mr. Jason, he said, yeah, he said, if you go into Toys R Us and you see this guy, pick him up for me. I didn't know that it'd be this price, and I actually texted him and said, hey, this deluxe class figure is $40, and I didn't hear from him. It was just like, he said pick it up, so I picked it up for him. So yeah, this is the deluxe class Megatron from the
Last Man,
and yeah,
the Last Human Knight.
The last Human Knight. Yeah.
Last Human Knight.
Just
Marky Mark and the Brady Bunch.
Marky Mark and the Transformer Bunch. Just looking at it through the packaging, because it's his and I can't open it.
Gotta watch out.
Yeah. It looks really crisp. It looks like all the paintwork. I can't show it really that well because it's in the thing, but all of the paintwork looks really, really well done. The head is epic, little head, but it's really quite cool. It's got Cybertronian on the guns, and yeah, I think Jason will really enjoy it because it looks like a really good figure, and I think you'll struggle to get it anywhere for under 40.
Because it's only at Toys R Us, right?
As soon as they slap that big old Toys R Us exclusive on it, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's a license to print money.
eBay
Exactly.
scalping this far.
I know. Anyway,
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a scalping thing. Like, it's just, people are going to buy it and they'll resell it. If you buy it at $40, then you're going to pay fees when you purchase it, when you sell it on eBay. Let's not jump the gun and accuse people of scalping, because that happens enough everywhere.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I think you'll enjoy him, Jason. He looks quite good.
I do plan to. You know what else I'm enjoying? This guy.
Oh,
there he is.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Since we've had a good chat about Mastermind Creations, no, we've had a good chat about Lost Light, but, whatever. So yeah, Mastermind Creations Calidus. He's the MMC version of course, Rodimus of the Lost Light, the More Than Meets the Eye incarnation. He's accurate enough. There's a few things that I have a few misgivings of. Like, you can see he's got this his arms sit a long way out from his body, and like it looks a little bit odd when you sort of look at it and consider how far out his arms are. But it does mean that he gets to sort of he can move. He's got quite a large array of movement around him.
It's just max.
I'm gonna have to.
Love me some armpit joints.
It's a nice figure. It looks great. I think MMC is amazing. But the thing is, I'm gonna wait to that SXS version of Hot Rodimus, because I think that version looks more comic book accurate. I don't know about the quality, but
I think you got a valid point. Like, I feel like there's some stuff in there. However, I trust MMC more than I trust SXS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
I was going to wait for a view.
Yeah, but like we've only seen like 2 photographs of it, and so I'll take the one that's actually on the market. And also, you know that he's going to fit in with the other MMC bots that you've got already. So
that makes sense.
I'm gonna. What's putting me off with the MMC one? Because I was gonna buy it last week, but I was like, I'm gonna wait for the other version to get a review. Right? It's just the chest is really too like looks really boxy and like really too not IDW Rodimus, because he's more of a slim, sleek Autobot looking guy, and I can't get behind how. It's nice. I'm not saying it's not at all bad figure.
I take your point. Like I think there are certain trade-offs that you make when you take a drawn comic character and you turn it into a transformer. Like I find sort of the part at the bottom of the chest is just a little bit boring. I feel like they could have done a little bit more there. Like I said, the arms are a little bit weird, but as a first attempt at actually bringing this character off the page, I think it's pretty good. I'm happy to own it. I'm happy to support it, and see where we go. He's got.
You can always make concessions for the way these more Mitsuya figures turn out, because Alex Milne doesn't really design these guys to transform.
Yeah, but the thing is also I want to mention is the MMC doesn't direct. Well, it's definitely inspired by IDW, definitely, but they do a lot of.
It's not direct.
Yeah, it's a little bit more concepty, like a little bit like we're going to take the inspiration, but we're going to put mostly our inspiration in. Like we're going to put a lot of things we did in our engineering and stuff. I think for a good example was Whirl. He looks I think a little bit more different from the IDW. Yeah.
So the thing is though that like the MMC reformatted line hasn't always been based on IDW's comics, right? Like the reformatted line, correct me if I'm wrong, but it started with their Predacons, and so not every release.
Yeah, so I think it was the 6-shot actually.
Yeah, 6-shot. Yep.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yep.
But so like it's not everything in that line is actually IDW related, and so I feel like some of their releases, like their Whirl, is just like it's completely different. It's not even really meant to be based on the comic appearance for Whirl, and the comic appearance for Whirl is actually really difficult to adapt anyway. So like that's fine.
Skinny chicken legs. Yeah, Starscream movie chicken legs. Pretty much.
With your Rodimus thingy there, your MMC, does his vehicle mode feel like a Batmobile?
Yeah, it does a little bit, but
there's those wheels and like just the placement of everything. It just kind of looks like a Batmobile type, you know.
Well, Mikey, there could be something to that if they end up doing a black and purple color.
Oh, there you go.
So they are doing a purple repaint. It's been announced as an exclusive for TFCon Toronto. So
I completely missed that.
I will be leaning on my Canadian contacts to obtain one for me.
I'll give it to you for free, eh? That's how we do it in Canada. Ooh.
Yeah. So MMC Calidus. I'm happy enough with him. I'm actually really looking forward to MMC's Megatron that's coming out next month. They will go really well together.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm hyped to sell for Megatron. You know, even like 2-month delay can't turn me off of that.
No, it looks amazing. I actually feel like I need to buy 2 of them because of the Terminus pieces as well.
Because you're
well, I mean, I've got a mate getting his delivered to my house, so you know, I could just pretend that it never showed up.
It delivered. It never showed up. I don't know what happened to it. Yeah, fair enough.
Does his name rhyme with hay?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, there you go. Well, make sure to throw it at him.
What does Max got?
I got sweet fuck all.
So
I have
Will,
that too sometimes.
Yes.
Well, we haven't really had you. We haven't spoken much about your collection, we spoke a little bit about your collecting habits. Now, because we haven't had you on to talk about stuff before, let's talk about what some of your latest acquisitions are, and maybe what's the pride of your collection.
my pride. I gotta like. I have to say like my chugs look all good together because it looks like a page out of like something from an IDW poster or something because it's all colorful and vibrant, and I'm always like displaying them in weird ways because I'm always like not happy with it but I like it, but like always where should it go because I'm always like fiddling with them, but you know it's always really fun and I always like displaying them to chugs because it's for me like you know what Marvel Legends are? They're the Marvel Legends of Transformers, if you ask me.
Well, they pretty much are. They pretty much do occupy that point in the line. Like that's what Generations is for.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what have you gotten recently?
Yeah, what have you got this week?
What I got? I have recently. I was debating on the MP Sunstreaker. I was heavily debating that because I really wanted a MP Sunstreaker for my land ball. Heavily debating that. So I was like, oh, I like Sun Surge, but I don't like this about MP, the version. I don't like this, and I don't like that with both versions. But I overall decided, because I think it looks good with the aesthetic next to Lambor, I will just get Sun Surge. And he was a good price. But overall, I think he's not here yet, but I will be happy when I get him. I'm pretty sure. I know, Jason, you said something about he broke or something with the complex transformation. But yeah, but I'm looking forward to getting.
Yeah, it's a part that broke, but like the figure still looks good. But
yeah, exactly.
I just can't abide the complexity of Bad Cube anymore.
And yeah, exactly. I get what you mean. What else?
But if you stick it in bot mode and put it up on a shelf, you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm basically going to do. But the thing, I also got I ordered from I believe someone from the group Sidearm Sideswipe. I've been looking for that, God, forever and ever, just because I like that look of Sideswipe from the movie. That version of the toy, I was like, yes. When I found it for a good price, like $25, I was like, sold. Thank you, God, Jesus, thank you. But it was the best win.
We've gone religious in our collecting habits.
Sideswipe bless, Papa bless Sideswipe. No, but hopefully they'll come in a couple of days, and
thank you, Lord Sideswipe.
Lord Sideswipe, thank you for your
many guns.
Yeah, many guns, no swords. But, yeah,
deliver us from Decepticons.
But I have actually I wanted to talk about this guy. I just got him last week. I think 3 weeks ago. This is my latest. Classics Hound, Universe Hound, or Classics.
He is a really nice figure.
He is, and he's so like anime. He's like something about him. He's just so fun and chunky, but at the same time, he fits so well with the other Autobots. Wow, like he has that kind of animated vibe to him, but at the same time, he's so fun and just like really just fun. And actually, what I didn't expect it was the guy said, okay, he just showed a picture of of Hound without the Repro labels, but he put Repro labels on it for no reason. I was like, whoa, why would you do that? It's like just for a reason. It's like it was unreal. So got 3 Repro labels with the Hound. So yay.
Oh, nice.
So, I love my Hound. He's my baby.
Do you have the Ravage that goes with him?
No, I just wanted the Hound, but sadly I didn't get Ravage. But
you don't have Laserbeak head Ravage.
Nope. I have Laserbeak from MP. I got 2 Laserbeaks. Actually I got oh my god, I got the Prime Laserbeak, but that comes with a Soundwave anyway. Movie Laserbeak, and I got
Prime Laserbeak, with his
cool.
Soundwave accessory.
Yeah, that's all it does. Flip it up. And MP Laserbeak, of course, and what else? And full Cybertron with the whole thing that comes out of the void, like that crappy.
Yeah, right.
Test game. That was crappy, but all good.
I was shattered whenever my Laserbeak shattered, so.
Yeah. I gotta be always careful with that thing. I always try to be careful.
MP, just don't touch it.
Yeah.
Touch it.
Oops.
All right. Okay, let's move on. We are way over time, so I'm going to bring us down to a close. TCGA Club events. TCCA Club events. We're at Oz Comic Con this weekend in Melbourne, and not sure what else is coming up in the future, but I do know that it is tomorrow. We are recording on Friday night. Tomorrow is the start of the new financial year, and that means that it's membership renewal time. So we will be making an announcement in the group about membership levels and payments for the next year. Check the website or the Facebook group. The club does live and die by its paid members, and only paid members can nominate and vote in the committee elections as well. Now, the club does have state representatives that you can go to and talk to if you need any help locally for things, and they often do put some of their own time into organizing meetups. And the club also has, of course, we've sent people to the movies for free this year as well. We did the tie-up with Laser for the last night. So I would say, if you feel like you get benefit from the club, then a paid and proud membership, $5, you could do a lot worse, right?
Jason, why would you make your members suffer by taking them to last night? I mean, you should. That's not a treat.
Because some people enjoyed it.
No,
I liked it, to be honest.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it, but I just have problems with it. That's all.
I have problems with it too. It doesn't mean I don't.
Yeah.
So
not
let me put it to you this way: at least we took them for free.
Yeah.
Yes.
At least, but they had to. In the end of it, they just be so emotionally drained. They're like, basically.
For anyone in Sydney as well, we've Collectomania is on this Sunday, so.
Yeah, so I know Joel has a table at Collectomania. If you are the one person who's actually watching us live, because it is practically midnight, then you can find us. You can find Mikey and I at Collectomania on Sunday, at the very least, and you'll see me clutching my wallet very carefully and trying not to spend any money on anything.
Oh Lord!
Except the $40 for a deluxe figure.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
I got 50.
Yeah, that's why he's not spending more money.
A little mini con, I don't know.
Because he can't afford to. Why? That is the worst decision they've ever had to make. Anyway,
before the podcast ends, I want to declare that Diamond Bolt is the greatest YouTuber of all time. He makes quality content. No, I can't do it. I'm sorry.
I don't even know what that is, and it's going to get cut out of the podcast.
No, it's just something with Mike and I. We just he's just gonna.
He's Australian, but I know he's not on Facebook. But
he's something.
Okay, all right.
Your opinion.
I have no idea what just happened.
All right, no, I don't know what happened either, so it's going to get edited out.
All good, sorry.
Okay, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for being on. Will, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Australian Transformers Weekly is produced by Transformers Collectors Club Australia. You can find the TCCA website at transformerscca.com. Find the podcast on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, and your favorite podcatcher. And you also find the RSS feed in the show notes if you want to subscribe to it yourself. We'll be back next week recording live on Friday nights. We'll hear from Brad in the wash up from Comic-Con. I say wash up. It sounds like something major is going to happen. We're going to sit there and greet Transformers fans all day long. So this is what usually happens at conventions. So we'll hear from Brad about how Oz Comic Con went, and we'll catch up with all the news and reviews and info and feelings, thoughts, and thought opinions from the world of Transformers. So it's goodbye from me and goodbye from the rest of you guys.
See you guys. Take care.
Catch you later.
Peace.